Hello, welcome back to Blender Sushi Live Noding. In this episode, we're gonna focus our attention to this tissue add-on by Alessandro Zomparelli. I saw this add-on quite a while ago. Not until today I actually managed to give this a try. I'm really interested with how this add-on allows you to do this kind of tessellations. Very intricate tessellations like this. There is a tutorial by Alessandro, which is he actually just updated, I think the other day. There is this one, tissue introduction to tessellations. You can have a look the process on how you can use the add-on. I will try to attempt the same thing, kind of using Sverchok add-on, kind of working together with this tissue add-on. Basically, the idea here is you provide some kind of base mesh, and on top of the base mesh, you also provide a component mesh to replace the polygon of the base mesh. So it is actually very similar to Sverchok nodes called Adaptive Polygon, but I think tissue add-on does a little bit more. Tissue add-on is more like kind of like a once-off thing that you can modify if you want to refresh or update the components. You can do that. It's not like nodes. I wish it is more like a nodes, but I think it can work together with Sverchok add-on. So I will give this a try now. So this is the website. There's actually the Facebook pages as well for this code it. This is the GitHub, and this is the website of code it. If you similar to Sverchok add-on, if you want to download this tissue add-on, you simply just download it as a zip. If you are using Mac, normally whenever you download zip, Mac tends to kind of turn the zip into a folder automatically, but normally you don't want that. You want to zip the thing back again, or you just go to recycle bin, go to the trash, and then find the tissue master zip, and then just use this one to install the tissue add-on. So once you get the zip, okay, this is my experiment with this add-on just now. I'm using Sverchok together with this add-on together, and it works really well actually. I can create the component using Sverchok, and then create the base mesh also using Sverchok, and then just use tissue add-on to combine the two. So yeah, I'll just delete all this, reload. If you want to install the tissue add-on, you just go to File, User Preference, and in the add-on you just install from File and just point into that tissue zip. Where is it? Somewhere in the desktop. Tissue master.zip. Just pick that one, and then you should have the add-on in your Blender user preferences, and you have to make sure it's being ticked, and then you just save it. Once you have the add-on installed properly, if you look at the panel here, you should find this guy here, tessellate. That's a tissue add-on. There is tessellate, there's also dual mesh, and there's a lot of neat thing here, including the settings and refresh. This is to modify the result. So if you watch the video tutorial by Alessandro, it's pretty clear how you can use the add-on. So I will do kind of exactly the same thing, except that I will try to use Sverchok to provide the base and the component mesh. So let's have a look. This is tissue combo. So we're still gonna use the tissue add-on. So yeah, I need to provide first of all the base mesh. I'm gonna use the rounded box. Viewer draw. So by default, rounded box actually give you this already, and you can adjust the subdivision of this rounded box. Yeah, okay, that's actually pretty much done. I'll just gonna bake it, and now we're gonna create the component for the tissue tessellation. I'm gonna use a plane and use a viewer draw for now. So we have this guy, and let's build up. Let's make it 3 by 3, so we have 9 polygon face. Center it, and we basically want to have the cross. In order to have the cross, there are many ways, but I like to show you one way to do this. Viewer index. Let's take a look at the index of these objects. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's the index number of the polygon face. And we want to basically delete the 0, 2, 6, and 8. And that's actually pretty easy. You just use the index to mask here, and then you want to do data masking. And we have 9 polygon face here, and for the index we use list input, and we just kind of specify the face that we want to delete. So 0, 2, 6, and 8. Plug this into the index. So we have the mask that we can use for our polygon data. So this is the mask goes in there, and then this is the data output, and we should get the result that we want. Okay, so we are able to select the polygon face that we want, but then we want the opposite. We want to invert this, so we just use the data that's false. Okay, so now we have this, but we have some leftover vertices, and we don't want that. We can use delete loose. So this should practically give us this like a plus sign. Okay, so with the plus sign itself, if we bake it, and then we select the plus, this is gonna be the component, and this is gonna be the base mesh. If we use the tessellate, we're gonna get a result right away. So we just leave everything as it is, and then okay, and there you go. Right away you get this result, and if I'm not wrong, they are not currently connected to each other. So if we smooth it a couple of times, you can see they're like separate. We're gonna do it again. Select the component. If you forgot to select the base and then you hit tessellate, it will tell you, please select 2 different objects. Select first the component objects, then select the base mesh. Okay, so that's pretty clear. And this is, so select this and select this, tessellate, and this time we want to merge it. So if we turn on the merge option, this object is merged. If we subdivide it, you can see it's connected. Okay, so that's a quick way. You probably want to do a little bit more here. So with our setup, instead of using the viewer draw, maybe we use actual vmesh. So with the vmesh, I'll just type here component, and I will give it a material, so we can clearly see what's the result. Okay, so we have this component object. This is gonna be the base mesh. This guy shouldn't have material. And okay, so this is gonna be the base mesh. Create another viewer mesh, and with this guy I'll name it base. So this goes in there, this goes in there. So we have this guy. If we want, we can increase the size, radius, maybe kind of move it to the side as well. Like so. Okay, so we have this component objects, and this is the base mesh. So now we can select this and select this and tessellate. There is this option on selected faces. If we actually have select some face, this will actually only perform on those faces. I think we can leave everything as it is and then apply. And now we have another result. Since everything is being procedurally generated in Sverchok, you can also increase this guy and kind of modify it whatever you like. Let's say randomize input vertices, just randomize it a little bit. And now let's do it again. Tessellate, apply. We have a different result. So yeah, that's I think that's the basics. Actually, Alessandro, if you look at the tutorial by Alessandro, he further continue and explain each part of the feature of tissue add-on. I'm just gonna leave it there for now, but I will also show you that Sverchok actually have adaptive polygon that's basically similar to tissue add-on. Tissue add-on is actually a little bit more robust. It has a lot more options. This one is actually not too bad. So with adaptive polygon, I'll show you real quick. Okay, Blender just crashes. I'll restart real quick. It's my graphic card actually often crash Blender. It's not Blender or Sverchok add-on. It's just my graphic card. Okay, so I'll restart Blender and we're gonna do one more thing. It's the adaptive polygon. So file. So we have this base mesh and a component. I'm just gonna hide it for now. So we have adaptive polygon. I'm gonna create viewer draw. So we have these components plug into D, which is the donor, and then the recipient will be the base. And there you go. So that's the nice thing about the nodes. Of course, you have this ability to update and then see the result right away. So this is why things kind of nice when everything is kind of streamlined like this. You can even, of course, like do like solidify maybe. Actually, we need to probably remove doubles and mesh join it. I think this is like separate objects. So mesh join. And remove doubles. With the node-based procedural setup like this, there's a downside that you probably notice. The whole thing needs to be processed and kind of cooked until every process is done, and then once you have like a more complex setup, it tends to slow down, and if you make changes, it's gonna slow down again and again. So that's the downside of sometimes with a procedural setup. You just need to keep that in mind. While with the setup like this, like tissue add-on, the nice thing about it is like you don't need to worry about the whole baking. You don't need to bake the whole system. You just provide the components and you just do a little bit of modeling, manual modeling, and then you mesh tessellate it when you're ready with the components. But with this Sverchok, for example, you need to bake the whole thing again and again. So it depends what you're doing actually. So now what should I do next? Okay, I was actually thinking to solidify this inside Sverchok. Solidify, plug this in, vertices, polygon. There you go, everything done in one go. And if you like, we can always replace the base model, for example, with something else. If I'm not wrong, if I just plug in like a random vector, it's gonna give us something. Okay, so that's doing that, which is nice. Vector size. Oh, actually, well, I'm not gonna do too much with the vector for now. I forgot what it's doing. So radius. We have control over the arc, and we can also randomize the component. Randomize everything basically. Maybe not too much, it's a bit too crazy. Okay, in this case, if you randomize the donor or the component, the connection is gonna be a little bit messed up, so not a good idea. Okay, so back to this. I guess that's pretty much it for this quick look at how we can use Sverchok together with the tessellate add-on. But this is like super basic. You can definitely do a lot more, not just something basic like this. Maybe in the next one. What's interesting is that when you start to use kind of like a tessellations where the objects kind of overlapping, that's when you find you can get very intricate kind of design just by like overlapping a lot of tessellation like that. I don't know. I have to have a think. Currently, because everything is basically, even when you're watching video by Alessandro, a lot of example of the video is like everything is very procedural. There's a step-by-step kind of things that you can kind of perform, and then it will generate something like this. And then if you change the base mesh, it's gonna give you a different result. And then if you change the components, you're gonna get different result once again. So it's a continuous process, and then you actually kind of experiment with the actual components and the base. I don't know. I have to give it a think first. But yeah, basically this is the basic. Again, I recommend you to first just watch Alessandro's video on his tutorial on tissue add-on. He also explained the other feature of tissue add-on, which is dual mesh. That's also very interesting. So yeah, for the next one, maybe I will try the like overlapping, twisting kind of components. So, but basically, if you can kind of generate the base and the components using Sverchok, and then just combine the two using tessellate, if that's simplify the process. if you use the adaptive polygon, that's kind of work as well, but up to a certain extent. Sometimes this thing is flipping. What's nice about adaptive polygon is that you can actually randomize. You can have multiple components, so that's one thing to keep in mind. Other than that, I guess this should be pretty much it. Otherwise, it's like too much information for you. Thanks again for tuning in, and if you have any feedback, suggestion, let me know, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.